Soap. We use it every day, but is it bad for our skin? Which cleansers stop the spread of flu and cold germs? Do acne cleansers really work? And do antibacterial hand washes cause superbugs that can kill us? What's really in my soaps and cleansers? Look at the range of soaps and cleansers available. There are 60 different types of soaps alone on these shelves and another 40 cleansers for sensitive skin, oily skin, dry skin. But do we need all these products, and do they do what they claim? What do you use to wash with?
Just soap or body wash.
Body lotion.
Just normal soap.
The body wash.
So is it a solid or a liquid?
Solid.
Liquid.
And
Or
solid.
solid.
Yeah.
We spend $28 million a year on solid soaps and another $43 million on hand washes and body washes. So what exactly is in our cleansing products? Let's start with soap. Humans have made soap for thousands of years, and for most of the time it's been done by mixing animal fat with the ashes from a fire. These days, soap makers use animal or plant fat, and instead of ashes, they use sodium hydroxide, also known as caustic soda. The sodium hydroxide reacts with fat and makes soap, eventually. Sodium hydroxide is highly toxic, but soap making neutralises its harmful effects. If you're wondering how soap works, soap molecules have a kind of split personality. The head end loves water and attaches to water molecules, while the tail end hates water but loves fat, oil and dirt. During washing, soap molecules cluster together, trapping oil and dirt inside. The water-friendly end stays on the outside of the cluster, enabling the fat and dirt to be washed away. So soap is good at washing away oil, but is that desirable when it's a major component of our skin? The top layer of our skin consists of dead cells mixed with fats. This protective layer keeps toxins and bacteria out and moisture in. So what does soap do to those fats in our skin?
Washing with soap removes the fatty part of the moisturising layer and dries our skin out more.
So after thousands of years of never washing our skin, we're now using soap at least once a day, and some of us are developing skin problems.
You can end up with irritated, damaged, red, itchy, stingy skin.
People with naturally oily skin can wash more frequently than people with dry skin, but there are no hard and fast rules about how often we should wash with soap.
The smell that we're trying to wash off comes from the armpits, groin and smelly feet. So perhaps soap should be confined to those areas.
Not only can it be drying, but soap can continue to damage the skin after you thought you'd rinsed it off.
Soaps don't wash off very well, and so a little bit of soap is still sitting on the skin surface and continuing to cause its damage.
Soap left behind can disturb the correct pH balance of our skin that is vital for its barrier function.
If you destroy that pH, the skin barrier function doesn't work properly.
So if you're worried about these kinds of skin problems, look for soaps that are pH balanced. And later on I find some liquid soaps that are even more skin friendly.
We always had our backs scrubbed with a scrubbing brush.
Oh yes, definitely.
My God, it was rough, it was hard. When you come out, you were glowing, you were pink, you know.
I'll tell you the other soap there was that come in, and that was palm olive.
Oh yeah.
Palm olive soap. That was beautiful, wasn't it?
Palm olive soap was first produced in 1898 with the ingredients palm oil and olive oil.
Palm oil is a very good ingredient to use for soap because it's of the type of fatty acids that are in it. So it makes a really nice hard bar of soap that also foams up very well.
Palm oil is also a cost-effective ingredient. Listed as sodium palmate or sodium palm kernelate, its use in soaps is raising concern. Demand for palm oil plantations is blamed for deforestation and climate change. So do we need to use palm oil in our soap, or do we have other options?
In terms of making soap, you can actually use a number of oils to produce soap, and that includes animal and plant-based oils.
Even in soap technology, necessity is the mother of invention. During World War II, a shortage of soap ingredients and a need for soaps that could be used in salt water led to the development of synthetic detergents. And those synthetic detergents ended up in many of the liquid soaps and body washes we use today. Sodium lauryl sulfate is a synthetic detergent sounding remarkably similar to sodium lauryl sulfate, a detergent known to cause skin irritation.
Sodium lauryl sulfate occurs more commonly in cleansers because it's been modified into an ingredient that's actually a lot more gentle.
Many of the synthetic detergents used in liquid soap are less irritating. So does that mean that liquid soap is a kinder alternative than ordinary soap?
One of the advantages of the synthetic detergents is that they wash off properly. So even if they are removing oil, they're only doing it for the few minutes that they're in contact with the skin.
Some research also shows that synthetic detergents with a pH closer to that of skin cause less damage.
They still can remove the dirt without destroying the barrier function of the skin.
Okay, so liquid soaps are sounding pretty good, but be aware that some of them do contain preservatives to give them a longer shelf life.
A lot of people like the idea of preservative-free products, but you know, preservatives are absolutely vital in commercial products, they really are.
Unfortunately, some liquid soap preservatives can cause skin problems like DMDM-hydantoin.
It's a very, very strong skin irritant, and it actually works by releasing formaldehyde, which is where the irritancy comes from.
According to the International Agency for Cancer Research, at high exposures, formaldehyde is considered carcinogenic. However, the amount released by DMDM-hydantoin in liquid soap is nowhere near the cancer-causing level, but it may cause irritation.
People that have sensitive skin can potentially have reactions to it, and that is even if it's being used in a product that's washed off.
Two other almost impossible to pronounce preservatives, methylchloroisothiazolinone and methyl isothiazolinone, can also cause irritation.
They are quite strong skin sensitisers and are used extensively in cleansers and soaps.
As a result, IRMA has set limits around the use of these two chemicals, but it's up to manufacturers to comply with the regulations. Having looked at normal soaps and liquid soaps, which is better to clean my skin with?
Well, if you have normal skin, use soap. Cheap, readily available, lasts a long time, cleans your skin effectively. But if you have sensitive skin, use a synthetic cleanser, either in a bar form or a liquid form, and better still if it's got added moisturisers.
What about soaking in a bubble bath? My kids love them. And I'm rather partial to them too.
Bubble bath is special occasions only because bubble bath contains very strong detergents and will strip the skin of the natural oils and protective cells. And you're sitting in it for minutes or hours. Clearly that's doing more than just cleaning off the dirt that happens in the first few minutes. It's undesirable.
Particularly for children with sensitive skin. Coming up, is ordinary soap more effective than antibacterial hand wash? And what hand wash is best for stopping the spread of flu germs? I'm continuing my investigation into soaps and cleansers, and I'm keen to find out whether simply washing with soap can stop the spread of germs. I've asked the kids here at Oratia District School to help me demonstrate how easily germs spread and why good hand washing technique is so important. I put a secret substance on my hands and the spool to see how far germs can spread. The kids carried on their normal activities, oblivious to the substance spreading amongst them. And just to make sure, I helped things along a bit. What's your name? Adam. A special light revealed just how much of the substance the kids picked up.
Gross.
Our small experiment shows how colds and other infections can spread through a population like wildfire. It's made worse by the fact that some viruses can live for up to 8 hours on surfaces like doorknobs. Pretend you're dipping your hands into the water. And that's why it's really important kids develop a good hand washing technique. And you're going in circles, rub in circles, and then rub like that. Go scrub, scrub, scrub our nails. We're going to grab our thumb. Twist, 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 twist. And the last thing is fingertips and our palms. Dip your hands in your water. When you've all finished, what have we got? Clean hands! hands! Awesome, they look awesome. What do you think about washing your hands? Good idea or a bit of a waste of time?
A good idea. They tell me to wash my hands before I eat food, but at home I just forget about it.
I've given soaps a good going over. Now I'm going to look at other types of hand washing products. First, we're setting up a trial to test how effective these different products are. We're testing on 3 types of microbes that cause all sorts of health problems. Campylobacter causes food poisoning and can make people incredibly sick. Some people even die. Likewise, Salmonella. And Staph aureus causes a range of infections from minor skin problems to life-threatening illnesses like pneumonia. We spread a mixture of each of these organisms onto our brave volunteer's hand. And after each application, he washes with one of the hand cleansers, a bar of soap, an ordinary hand wash, an antibacterial hand wash, a hand sanitizer that doesn't need water, and finally, plain warm water. When we come back later to find out the results, you'll be surprised which product performed the best. Dr. Joanna Kerman specialises in infectious diseases, so she's the perfect person to advise us on other hand washing products like the antibacterial cleansers used instead of soap when we're washing with water.
Antibacterial soap will have an agent in it that fights bacteria. Triclosan is the most commonly used antibacterial agent that you'll find in a lot of soaps. You can find it even in your toothpaste.
But there are some concerns around its use. In the US, the FDA is re-evaluating triclosan. There's concern that it can build up in the environment and interfere with reproduction in animals, not to mention triclosan's potential impact on our health and the threat of antibacterial resistance. Regular use of triclosan could enable some bacteria to build up resistance to it, and that presents us with some potentially big health problems like superbugs.
Superbugs are bacteria that are resistant to multiple different antibacterial agents, and that of course is a major concern when they seem to become resistant to pretty much everything, and then we've got nothing left to fight them.
What's more, antibacterial agents aren't fussy. They'll also kill good bacteria living on our skin.
Some bacteria can prevent us from getting the coughs and cold viruses, so having a reasonable number of friendly bacteria is actually a really good thing.
So should we be using antibacterial products at all?
Generally, if you're a normal healthy person, normal soap is going to be as beneficial to you as using an antibacterial preparation.
So how are hand sanitizers different from soaps and antibacterials? Well, they're really for situations where you can't wash your hands, like when you're in the car and you've been handling something dirty. The question is, how do they work?
A lot of them are ethanol based, which is a really, really good broad spectrum antimicrobial.
Ethanol is a type of alcohol. It kills the bugs and then evaporates, so it doesn't stay on the skin, causing damage.
There's no major downside to actually using a hand sanitizer other than the fact it's not actually going to clean away the dirt.
But on the plus side, hand sanitizers are more effective against viral infections than antibacterial hand washes.
During a flu pandemic, for example, they are a great way to try and prevent getting influenza.
Time to get the results on the hand wash trial and find out which product performed the best. All products killed the Campylobacter bacteria, including the ordinary bar of soap and washing with just warm water. None of the products tested killed the Salmonella, not even the hand sanitizer. Both hand wash products and plain warm water dealt to the staph bugs. Bar soap allowed some to survive, but the hand sanitizer didn't perform well. So what did we learn from our trial of hand washing products? Well, warm water was reasonably effective, the hand sanitizer on its own wasn't, and ordinary soap was as good as an antibacterial hand wash. So what does the industry have to say in response to us finding that the antibacterial performed no better than ordinary soap?
There's good evidence where antibacterial soaps do work and have a higher level of efficacy over traditional soaps.
And what about the hand sanitizer being the least effective?
Hand sanitizers are an alternate to good hand washing, but not a replacement of good hand washing.
Coming up, we investigate a potentially serious problem with some exfoliants. That's the stuff that we're potentially just washing down the drain. And do acne products actually work?
I didn't have much hope for the big one.
Okay, so I'm sorted when it comes to washing my hands and body, but what about my face? It's the most exposed and obvious part of our body. So many of us are particular about how we wash it.
Clinique. A tea tree oil face wash.
Ooh, la la.
Face, scrub.
Exfoliant?
Exfoliate, that's the one.
What about your face?
I use a special product for that.
So what makes a facial cleanser different to soap or body wash?
Facial washes tend to have less of the sort of more aggressive ingredients in them and more ingredients that offer nourishing qualities to help the skin sort of retain moisture and not dry out.
These include glycerin, plant and mineral oils, silicons, waxes and butters, ingredients widely used in cosmetics and toiletries, generally with no health concerns. But one range of facial cleansers that have some associated health risks are those aimed at curing or at least reducing pimples and acne. Look at that. Pimples occur because skin pores produce oil which mixes with dead skin cells to block the pores. But there's another factor in acne. A particular bacterium thrives in the oily environment, causing inflammation. Some ingredients in acne products deal to the bacteria and inflammation, while others act on the blockages.
Salicylic acid is designed to unplug. It's an acid that loosens the skin cells,
which allows the dead skin to be washed away, clearing blocked pores. However, in removing the outer layer of skin, there's more potential for sun damage. And if used in too high a concentration, it can cause peeling. While salicylic acid unblocks pores, other chemicals deal to the bacteria and inflammation which cause acne, like benzoyl peroxide.
Benzoyl peroxide is an effective anti-acne ingredient, there's no question about that. It does tend to be quite aggressive.
And that's led to a degree of caution around people's use of antibacterial ingredients.
They are not always very well tolerated. In strong enough concentration, they can irritate and cause eczema in probably about 20% of the population.
IRMA lists it as a sensitizer and it can cause irritation. Also, it can bleach hair and clothes. But do acne products actually work? To give us some idea of their effectiveness, we're conducting a simple trial of acne products at Pakuranga College with a group of pimple experts who have experimented with some weird remedies in the past.
I've heard of putting toothpaste on your spot and a plaster over it and sleeping with it.
I've heard from my dad to put lemon on your face. It may burn the spots and clean them.
Doesn't work for me.
This business studies class knows a thing or two about marketing.
There is a lot of claims on products. I don't actually know if they do them.
They tell you that it can clear your skin in a certain number of days.
But do these products deliver on the hype? We split our group of experts into 5 groups to test one product with natural exfoliants and salicylic acid, one that claims to be a mild cleanser, 2 more products containing salicylic acid, one of which claims clearer skin in just 3 days. And finally, a face cloth. We left them to scrub for 5 days. We'll come back to find out whose pimples have been zapped. So what about exfoliants? Is there anything in these facial cleansers that we should be concerned about? Not that long ago, natural ingredients like oatmeal and walnut shells were mainly used in exfoliants. But these days, many exfoliants use tiny plastic beads. Now, while they're incredibly small, they pose an environmental risk because when we wash them off, the beads go down the drain.
A lot of the times they won't be caught by the sewage treatment plant settling ponds and they will go straight into the ocean.
Marine biologist Mary Sewell's investigating the impact of microplastics in cleansers.
Well, the problem is that this plastic can be eaten by lots of really small animals that are in the water.
So the plastic will move up the food chain as a bigger fish eats a small fish with plastic in its gut, and so it goes on. It's cumulative?
Yep.
Scientists have found microplastics in seals in the sub-Antarctic, far from human habitation. The concern with this plastic is that it attracts other toxins from the ocean.
It sort of sucks them in.
Okay, so they go, flip, I don't want to be in the water, I want to be on the plastic! Like that. Okay, cool, I got it. So how much plastic is actually in one of these products? Let's take a look back at the lab.
This is a 8 micron filter, which is very, very tiny. Okay, so this is what I've washed off the filter. A lot of that will be the microplastic floating on the surface.
That's the stuff that we're potentially just washing down the drain?
Yes, into the ocean.
So what shall I look for if I want to avoid microplastic?
Well, if it says microbeads on the label, then that's a good indication that it probably does have some kind of plastic in. But to be sure, you look on the ingredient list and you're looking for polyethylene.
Well, this one, conveniently on the front, says gentle microbeads, and I can see polyethylene.
Oh no, this is my favourite. The blackhead clearing scrub with natural sea salt. Making it very ocean-like, except for the polyethylene.
Mm-hmm. Is the industry concerned about the use of microbeads in cleansers?
There is no scientific data that establishes either a health risk or an environmental risk from the use of microbeads.
So what options do we have if we want an exfoliant without polyethylene?
Well, you could look for products that don't contain the polyethylene plastic, that have got apricot or walnut or oatmeal. Or you could just use a flannel or body gloves and just wash your face that way.
Back at Pakuranga College, how have our acne products gone? First up, the products without salicylic acid. The face cloth claims a gentle massaging effect.
It's different from others I used before, and I like it very much.
And the mild cleansing gel?
It was really soft on my skin, but it didn't do anything.
Would have liked to see some pimples go away, but nothing happened.
So how about the products that did contain salicylic acid? The Clean and Clear claims to help fight pimples fast. Any action?
It did most of them, but I didn't have much hope for the big one.
The Clearasil claimed to get to work instantly, but from our sample the results weren't spectacular.
It kind of dried out my skin a lot, but it didn't really get rid of any spots.
And the Natural Scrub, which claims to prevent blemishes?
I did feel the difference. My skin was smoother.
For a scrub, it was really good.
So was there any difference between products with or without salicylic acid? Although it was a simple trial, on the whole the products with did seem to get rid of more pimples, but some also dried out the skin. So what have I learnt about soaps and cleansers? First, it's not necessary to use soap all over my body every time I shower, as it removes protective oils. For normal skin, ordinary soap is just as effective as antibacterial. If you've got sensitive skin, a synthetic liquid soap is gentler. As for hand sanitizers, they're okay if you're away from water, but no substitute for washing your hands with soap. And when it comes to scrubs, I'll be opting for Au Natural. Moisturisers. Most women use them and increasing numbers of men. But do we actually need them? Can they really cause skin cancer? And do they contain chemicals that lower sperm count and shrink penises? What's really in my moisturiser? We spend $100 million a year on moisturisers. They're one of the most commonly used cosmetic products. I don't know many women who don't use it, and most of us on a daily basis. But what's actually in moisturiser and what's it doing for us?
Moisturisers is the name given to products which increase the water content in the skin.
Sounds simple enough, but it does get more complicated. First though, I want to understand how moisturisers work, so I have to understand the problem: dry skin.
The normal water content of the skin is only 10 to 20%.
If our skin's moisture content drops below that, it feels dry.
Changes in that are determined by external factors: how dry is it, how windy is it; by internal factors, so our ability to retain water in the skin.
How well our skin holds water in depends on the skin barrier, which is made up of 3 important components. The first is the uppermost layer of densely packed dead skin cells. New skin cells are produced at the base of the epidermis. As they move up, they die, flatten out like roof tiles, creating a solid barrier. In between is a mixture of fats and water-loving chemicals called the natural moisturising factor. Finally, a layer of oily sebum seals the barrier that stops water escaping. Anything that disrupts this barrier can cause dry skin. Moisturisers are a popular and easy fix. These days there's hundreds to choose from. It's a pretty crowded market, which is why the marketers have their sights set on our men. But what do men know about moisturising? I'm here in the very heart of Kiwi blokedom, Eden Park, to put moisturisers to the test. It's gonna take hard graft to get this place ready for the World Cup next year. So what better place to find man skin in need of a little TLC? We've asked 8 hard-working blokes to put 4 moisturisers to the test and tell us which one they liked best. None of these guys currently use a moisturiser.
No, never used in my life, don't intend to either.
No, I certainly wouldn't buy a moisturiser. The ladies love it, but the guys think you're gay.
Although they deny it, many get started in the habit by pilfering it from the women around them.
I've never used my wife's moisturiser, no, definitely not.
We've slipped a popular women's brand in amongst the men's products in our experiment. After all, the only difference between men and women's moisturisers is the fragrance. The basic ingredients of any moisturiser are always the same. First, there are the humectants. Humectants are the equivalent of our skin's natural moisturising factors. They are chemicals that attract water to themselves and hold on to it.
The dead, dry layer of the surface of the skin is above a lower, live, wet layer of skin, and the humectants actually pull water up from that lower layer and hydrate the upper layer, which makes the skin feel better.
There are no serious health concerns with these types of ingredients. In fact, they're often identical to our own natural moisturising factors. Urea, glycerin and ceramides are good examples. Moisturisers also seal water in with occlusives. These are oils or fats that work the same way as our skin's natural oil or sebum.
And these chemicals actually form a barrier. They're a sort of waxy barrier on the surface of the skin that stops you losing water.
Common ones are plant oils and their synthetic relatives, petrolatum and mineral oils. Occlusives can clog pores, and there is some concern about contaminants in mineral oil. More on that later. Finally, moisturisers contain ingredients called emollients.
And these are molecules that are fatty type molecules, and they go into the skin and just make it feel better because it feels softer.
Common types are lanolin and cocoa or shea butter. Altogether, these ingredients work to soothe and soften our skin and keep our own natural moisture in, but the effect is strictly temporary.
Generally, they take 15 minutes to half an hour to start having an effect, and the effect probably only lasts between 2 and 4 hours before it wears off.
4 hours isn't very long, but many of us are used to putting moisturiser on several times a day. That's okay, isn't it? Or is it?
One of the difficulties is if you put a moisturiser on, your skin produces less natural moisturising factors. So it wears off more quickly. So what do? You put some more moisturiser on. So you actually become dependent, almost addicted to having a moisturiser on your skin.
So according to some experts, our skin's better off left to its own devices, at least when we're young. But that changes as we age.
From the age of 50 onwards, though, our barrier function starts to diminish. There's less natural moisturising factors in the skin, there's less sebum being produced, our skin starts to dry out. And that's the time to start using moisturisers, is from 50 onwards. They definitely have a benefit. But prior to that, they probably don't do very much.
So if most of us don't actually need moisturiser, how come we buy so much of it? And how have marketers convinced us to pay hundreds of dollars for it? You could call it a hype premium, but marketers say what you're actually buying is not mere moisturiser, but a dream in a bottle.
Here we have Kate Winslet. So what does Kate Winslet mean to you?
I guess Kate is somebody who's successful at what she does. She's a mum, she's friendly, got a great smile. She's on top of her game.
Perfect. This is an essence of a certain archetype of womanhood. We're taking this, we're attaching it to a brand, we're putting it in a little package. And you can take a little bit of that, put it on the cheek, and instant Kate Winslet.
Celebrity endorsements are just one way to get us to shell out for a premium product. Clever marketing also convinces us to pay huge sums for tiny amounts of moisturiser.
Well, the first thing we see is a large gold top, and the gold indicates precious and unusual. They're also made of very heavy glass, which has got a feel to it in a way that a plastic package can't possibly convey.
I noticed though it's also quite small and expensive. These are both retail for about $100, $100.
But you get what you pay for, and that's the association.
Is that true though? Do we really get what we pay for?
In some sense we do. It may not be true in terms of the product that's in there, but in terms of what we feel about the product. how we feel about ourselves when we use it, yes, we get more pleasure from an expensive product than from a cheap product.
I have got a product that I paid a fortune for, and when I put it on, I feel like I'm just giving my face love.
Which is exactly the point.
Expensive products are probably no better at moisturising than the budget version. But moisturising has always been as much about our perceptions as our budget. Back to our moisturising males, let's find out what they think of moisturiser A at $60, the most expensive one in our test.
Had a bad smell and it was also hard to rub in.
I like moisturiser A because it wasn't oily, it wasn't that greasy as well, it smelled real good and my girlfriend liked it of course, so that's why I like it.
It gives a good feeling on the face and hopefully it's working as it's supposed to.
After the break, could moisturisers make men less manly?
Men should be worried about effects on sperm count, undescended testes, and those sort of changes.
And how easy is it to fool consumers?
Wow, I'm very shocked right now.
Some experts say most of us under 50 probably don't need moisturisers at all. But apparently we're not buying moisturiser, we're buying love for our face. But is it really all about the image, or can we actually tell a budget product from a high-end brand? I'm about to put the woman of New Zealand on the spot. We've got 2 bottles of budget face cream and 2 filled with an exquisite, expensive brand. Unsurprisingly, everyone preferred the fancy-looking stuff.
It's sleek lines, it's elegant, something a little bit special.
It is, it's nice looking, isn't it? Here's the twist. We've put the cheap stuff in the fancy packaging and the pricey stuff in the plain containers. So, can the woman spot the good stuff? So, out of those 2 that you tried, which did you prefer?
That one.
You preferred that one. Which are you preferring?
That one, because it's gone in much easier.
What do you like?
I like this one. Yeah. I don't know.
Probably that one. That one?
Yeah. I like this one.
That one.
I like this one.
You like this one?
Yeah, it's more nicer. It tastes like sunblock. It smells like sunblock.
Yeah?
Yeah, and that one smells fruity.
Okay.
So I think fruity is a bit cheap.
Fruity's cheaper?
Yeah.
Would it interest you to know we paid $72 for that?
Really?
And $6.40 for that.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What?
So do you think you've been, like, seduced by the packaging?
Yes, I have. Wow. I'm very shocked right now.
Yeah. Amazing,
What?
eh? Although everyone liked expensive packaging, almost half the shoppers on Auckland's Queen Street chose a budget moisturiser over a prestige brand, costing more than 10 times as much. Cheap or expensive, many moisturisers contain mineral oil and its thicker cousin, petrolatum. They're great occlusives, but are they safe? Mineral oil and petrolatum are made from the same crude oil as petrol, so there's concern that they could contain the same nasty impurities, like benzene.
Benzene can cause a specific form of leukemia, and there's a lot of concern around the world about benzene in petrol and breathing it when you're filling up your car with petrol at the petrol station.
But cosmetic-grade oils are much, much more highly refined than petrol.
The amounts of benzene in petrolatum are very, very tiny, and I personally don't see any problem.
Most experts say mineral oil is safe and effective, but what about another common synthetic ingredient? Parabens are a group of chemical preservatives used in many moisturisers.
Parabens are used in moisturisers because moisturisers provide a wonderful environment for bacteria and fungi to grow, and parabens stop that happening.
Luckily, the most commonly used one is also the safest.
The most common one that's used in cosmetics is methylparaben, and there's very little concern about health issues relating to methylparaben.
But there are health concerns about some other commonly used parabens. So can't we do without them? I'm going to test for myself how important preservatives really are. This jar of moisturiser has no parabens and this one does. I'm going to leave them both for a couple of weeks and see what happens. Meanwhile, back at Eden Park, our blokes are settling into a routine.
It's quite funny. I never thought I'd be on a building site where the topic of conversation would be moisturisers and comparing moisturisers.
So how about Moisturiser B, which unbeknownst to the men is a tried and trusted women's brand?
If I was going to get into the habit or make this an ongoing part of my regime, I would probably be using Moisturiser B.
But it's not a hit with everyone.
I used Moisturiser B, had a bad smell and it was hard to rub in.
Moisturiser B I wouldn't use because it would remind me of what my mum used to wear, and it'd be a bit girly to wear, I think.
A feminine fragrance may put some guys off, but could moisturiser actually feminise a man's body? There is concern that some parabens could do just that. Butylparaben is one of many chemicals that resemble female hormones.
If a compound resembles a female hormone, then it will have the activity of that female hormone in the body. Premenopausal women will be hardly affected by chemicals like paraben because they've got a lot of estrogen. So if you're a female, then it's just a drop in the ocean and of no concern whatsoever.
Scientists have calculated that even if I use every paraben-containing beauty product I can get my hands on every single day, my exposure would still be thousands of times less than the amount needed to cause me harm.
But what could a dose of female hormone impersonators do to our men?
Men who are exposed to chemicals that resemble the female hormone should be worried about effects on sperm count and sperm quality, for example, undescended testes, another disease called hyperspadias, where the urethra comes out of the side of the penis instead of the end, and those sort of changes.
Ouch! And this is not idle speculation. Scientists have shown it's already happening to the male of the species. Well, the male of this species.
There was a study carried out in the 1990s by a very famous American scientist who looked at alligators' penis length in 2 lakes. One of the lakes was polluted with chemicals that looked like the female hormone, and the other one wasn't. And he showed that in the lake with the female hormone look-alike in it, the alligators' penises were about 40% of the size of the normal penises. That's a huge change.
But don't worry, guys, it won't happen overnight.
If you're applying these chemicals to your skin, your penis isn't going to get smaller that day. This is a long-term exposure.
What really concerns many toxicologists is not the tiny bit of paraben in your moisturiser, but the combined effects of all the estrogen-like chemicals around us.
There are things like, for example, chemicals in soy, some of the chemicals that are used in the manufacture of plastics. And it's been said, in fact, that we live in a sea of estrogens, and that's where the big issue is. This whole cocktail of chemicals that we're exposed to. Parabens form an infinitesimally tiny part of that cocktail, but they're part of it.
So do we need preservatives? Well, you be the judge. This is what our paraben-free moisturiser looked like after just 2 weeks. Later, we'll show you what it looks like after a month. And after the break, we find out if natural moisturisers are really what they're cracked up to be.
Some natural products only use very small concentrations of active ingredients just to make a label claim.
And could moisturiser cause skin cancer? If there's one thing I've learnt about moisturisers so far, it's that it's all about personal preference. One man's greasy goop is another man's dream cream. Cue Moisturiser C.
It left a very greasy sort of feeling on your skin. It didn't really absorb in, and it tended to collect the dust as you walked around the site.
I like Moisturiser C. It goes into your skin easy, and the smell's quite nice.
I didn't like Moisturiser C because when I applied it to the skin it was quite thick and greasy.
Thickness is mostly determined by the oil content. More oil and less water makes for a greasier, thicker cream.
We tend to be intolerant of too greasy a product during the day, but we're often able to tolerate an oilier product at night. So that's given rise to the day creams and the night creams.
Many day creams also include a sunscreen, but how much protection do they actually provide?
They don't really contain enough to give us the degree of protection we need if we go to the beach. And that's because it just contains a UVB block, which protects against sunburn.
UVA protection is just as important, but often missing from moisturisers.
A study in 2009 found that moisturisers with sunscreen provide poor protection against the sun's rays, especially the skin-damaging UVA rays.
Even more worryingly, some scientists have drawn a link between moisturisers and skin cancer. The claim is that mice exposed to UV developed bigger tumours and faster if they were treated with moisturiser afterwards. News of the link made headlines around the globe, but mice are not men.
Skin cancer experts from around the world condemned the study's findings as seriously flawed. Some went as far as saying that it bordered on irresponsible and that the study should never have been published.
Scare stories like these have seen a big swing to natural moisturisers. It's one of the biggest market trends in recent years. Natural moisturising ingredients often draw on centuries of traditional use rather than scientific proof.
Most of them have been used for a very long time, and so people know they work.
But do these natural products contain enough plant extract to have their claimed effect?
Some natural products actually only use very small concentrations of active ingredients just so that they can be placed on the label, just to make a label claim.
There's even a name for this kind of cheating. It's called angel dusting.
And there are actually companies out there that produce things like botanical extracts and that type of thing that are designed entirely to be listed on the label, not for any specific activity in the formulation.
Unfortunately, it's almost impossible for consumers to figure out how much natural extract they're getting, although the ingredient list can offer a clue.
Cosmetic ingredients are required to be listed from the highest concentration to the lowest concentration. So anything that you sort of see at the beginning of an ingredients list will be the highest concentration.
There can be other clues. Use your eyes and nose.
Herbal extracts in a formulation tend to make the product smell quite strong and often unpleasant, and they often will turn it brown or green. So if you've got a sort of herby smelling product that's greenish or brown coloured, then you probably have got quite high levels of extracts.
We reckon we found a good one in product D. So what did the guys think?
I didn't like moisturiser D because it was green and yellowy and it reminded me of snot.
It was like applying mud to your face and had a horrible smell.
Well, I thought it smelled like socks. It was really greasy, it was thick, it was yuck. I don't know anybody who would like to put it on their face. It was disgusting.
Of course, there's an easy way to deal with smells.
Many natural products are processed to stabilise them and remove colours and odours, but there's always the risk we'll lose beneficial properties as well.
It's a bit of a trade-off. Fresh is best, but it's not practical on a commercial scale. Aloe vera is a good example.
The best way to use aloe vera is straight out of the aloe vera plant, but by the same token, I wouldn't want to buy a fresh aloe product off the shelf unless it had been modified and preserved and treated appropriately.
And that means using synthetic preservatives like parabens.
A lot of people are very anti-preservatives, and that's through lack of education, because preservatives are vital. I would never use a product that didn't have preservative in it.
Let's take a look at our 2 moisturisers after 1 month. Well, the one with parabens is fine, but the one without, goodness only knows what's growing in there. Fair to say, I won't be putting it on my face.
There's just one last thing left to do. Time to find out if we've converted the male of the species. Our construction workers have been moisturising for a month. It's time to find out what they were using and who liked what. All right, anyone here like A?
Yep. A, yep.
You 3 liked A? A is Lab Series, about $60 a tube, so our most expensive one in the experiment. Is that something you think you'd pay to feed your face?
Probably not.
Nah.
Probably not. Nah.
Anyone here like B? Did any of you boys like B? Yep, okay, you ready? It was Olay. It's a girl's moisturiser. But that's okay. That's okay, because it turns out boys and girls both have skin. Would you keep using it?
No.
No? Not for you?
Not for me. Yeah.
Good on you. How about C? Anyone here like C?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Okay, moisturiser C is Nivea for men. Pretty reasonably priced. Cheapest in this experiment. Okay, anyone like D?
No.
No, D? No? What was wrong with it?
Smelled like socks. It was yuck.
Makes me want to try it. What is it? What is it? Trilogy for men. So our only New Zealand-made brand, about $37 for the pot. Not a favourite today. Now, you young man haven't put your hand up.
No, I didn't like any of them.
No? Moisturiser not for you?
Not a fan of rubbing cream on my face, basically.
So Lab Series won the most converts, but not at that price. Not one of our blokes would spend more than $15 on a moisturiser. And the very herbal Trilogy lost out big time.
So what have I learnt about moisturisers? Well, men may have some concerns over estrogen-like parabens, but moisturisers are just a tiny part of the cocktail of estrogens all around us. Most of us probably don't need moisturisers nearly as much as we use them. If we do have a problem with dry skin, then there's no need to get a more expensive product over a budget one, except for the way it makes you feel.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty, I feel pretty and pretty.